Welcome to Psychology Live. I'm Dr. Gail Macher, and I'm with Mary DiPaolo, limited licensed psychologist. Today we are going to take a listener's question, and then we're going to jump into codependency. But before we do, Mary's going to tell you how to get a hold of us.
We do have our own Facebook page, which is called Psychology Live, and we encourage you to check it out.
Have you noticed more and more people are
I know, it's
joining?
great.
It's
We're
great.
really happy about that.
Yeah.
So that's where you can ask us your questions like these that we are receiving, and either through private message or just right up there posting one. And you can also reach us. Dr. Gail's website is
Oops, that's my phone. Just ignore that sound.
drgail.com, and my blog is yourweeklysession.blogspot.com. And we're both on psychologytoday.com as part of the Find a Therapist profiles that you could see when you check that out. Our zip code is 48167 in Northville, Michigan.
And at the end of the show today, we are going to hold up a sheet with all the information, contact information. We would put it on the video, but we really don't know how yet.
We're
just
learning.
learning.
Works in progress.
So anyway, we do want to talk about codependency because it keeps coming up. So we'll probably spend at least a couple of shows on it. But there is a question that we wanted to answer first. So go ahead, Mary.
Someone who has watched us on YouTube and said we were excellent, by the way, asked us thank you. Asked us what the difference was between fear, anxiety, and worry. So
okay. What I'm going to say is that there are actually three different things. Anxiety, you'll probably end up talking about fear, so I'll talk a little bit about anxiety. Okay. Anxiety is typically, it's said, the fear of the unknown, but even more than that, it's caused by genetics, or it's caused by actual experiences we're having that throw us off and we don't understand what's going on, and our body goes into anxiety mode. Chemically we have this shift and we can feel it throughout our body because we're fearing the experience, or we had it passed down to us genetically. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who get anxiety passed down genetically, and it's in the 20s that there's often an adult onset of the full-blown anxiety. So anxiety is a little different, even though there's an overlap with fear and worry. Anxiety is like an entity to itself. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fear, I've always likened it to the roots of a tree. And if you look at the tree of anxiety, all the roots which make up that tree consist of fear. Now, fear is an interesting phenomenon because why? It is
like when a siren goes by.
I know, it's like really, they got to blow their horns now. The fire station here in town is right across the street from us, and men with their fire trucks.
With the fear,
but that's a whole other, that's a whole other subject. So anyway, because there's never an emergency, really, or very
not
rarely.
In our town.
Not in our town.
No.
And some fool in his truck with his little woo 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 on the top blew past me the other day along the street that runs behind the office here. And I'm like, really? You're in a rush to get to that driveway over there? Wow. Hope that was fun for you because you almost T-boned me, you fool.
But getting back to worry.
Getting back to fear and worry and anxiety. Fear is the antithesis of the truth. There's so many great sayings. The truth fears no questions. The truth will set you free, but it'll sure piss you off first. I mean, fear and the truth do not go together.
I don't think that's scripture. I think the truth will set you free is scripture.
It is.
Without the added component.
Yeah, but from the standpoint of, think about it, when a person chooses to live in fear, and believe me, it is a choice. They are saying, I'd rather be in control of my perceptions, even though they're throwing me under the wheels of that bus every single day, than face an uncomfortable truth. And remember that saying? It's much easier to swallow a comfortable lie than it is a difficult truth. This is very true.
So one of the differences here is with the fear, it's something that you can choose not to have. You can choose not to have it. With anxiety, that's not always true. You can work really hard to work it through. Sometimes you need medication. It's much more intense than, say, a fear. But again, there's an overlap of the two. Usually an anxious person is also fearful of things. But if a person has fear, it doesn't mean they're an anxious person. So,
right.
So they're a little bit different.
And fear is also one of those things where you become comfortably familiar with it, and that causes a whole plethora of problems down the road because you are so avoidant in facing things that you think could take you down a road where you're going to end up in worse shape than you believe you are now. And so fear really becomes like a ruler and ruiner of your own life.
It's really a habitual thought. So many of our thoughts are not at a conscious level. They're more on a subconscious level, and they're just habitual. We're in a pattern of thought, and we stay in it until we choose to pull it out and change our thinking. Cognitive restructuring, we've talked about it before. We change the way we think. And there are a lot of people who learn to be very fearful in childhood, and that stays with them throughout their lives.
Right.
And the fear isn't based clearly on something that's true. It's just their way of being. And it's not even that they really want to be that way, they just are.
One link that people do not see that's very profoundly evident in our culture is a fear of conflict linked to a fear of being able to communicate effectively.
Oh, that's so common. One of the major issues we deal with in couples counseling is learning how to communicate, because there's this fear attached. If I say this to him or to her, then I'm going to pay a price, or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen. And many times it's not going to happen, but it's what happened in childhood. So the assumption is, okay, now I'm part of a couple, so therefore it's going to happen.
Right.
So, all right, I want to get to
Worry.
Yeah. Okay, with worry, it's somewhat similar to fear. You learn to be, fearful about things and worry about things. Something bad's going to happen. Many times the origin is something way back in childhood that really did happen. Or it could be something that happened in adult life, so then it's like PTSD. So then you're worried because you know bad things happen, so therefore bad things are going to happen.
Right. And the worry one-liner I use a lot in therapy is it gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. Worry does not solve a problem, resolve a problem, or dissolve a problem. It just gives you something to do. Waste your time doing it. And my thing is always, if you got to pick one, pick praying instead. That gets you somewhere. Worry gets you nowhere. It's just a horribly bad, destructive habit to fall into.
It's a lot of wasted mental energy. You know, you go round and round in your mind worried that something's going to happen. You know, when people are agoraphobic and they won't leave their home, it's because they're so worried something's going to happen. But yet if they have the experience of going out, they realize that nothing's going to happen. But they have that worry. Sometimes the best thing to do is to face whatever the concern is, just face it, and then let the worry go.
Right.
Or just choose, like Mary said, maybe pray. Think about positive things, write down positive things, journal. Do whatever you can to stop the worrying, because worry really is a waste of time. It doesn't get us anywhere. You know, we can go over it, and it doesn't mean we're going to have a different ending. We're just spinning out, and it's wasted energy. And if what we really want to spend our mental energy on are positive thoughts, you know, what are we grateful for? What's good in our life? What's happening in the present? You know, I don't have my context in. Is it 10 minutes yet?
No, it's 8.
Oh, okay, good. So anyway, with the worry, you really can choose not to worry about something. We've talked about this in other shows. Whatever you're worrying about, do you know it's true? Are you absolutely sure it's true? Do you really know that that person is going to do that to you? Or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen? 90% of the time, the answer is no. Mm-hmm. Which means you're spinning out on something that isn't even real or true.
Right.
But it's a habit.
Right. I work with clients who are agoraphobic. I go to their homes to treat them. And one thing I say when they have the fear of the marketplace, like going out to the store, I say, when you're at the store and you start getting all antsy and anxious and worried in line, you break that by getting out of line, finding the manager and saying, you know, I'm not feeling well. I just need to buy this. Can you help me? And invariably they will, but you're also actively working to break the pattern that would otherwise send you out the door, in your car, in a mess, where when you actually ask for help, you may find that that is your best antidote in that moment in dealing with your worry.
Another good technique, which we've talked about before, that works with anxiety is doing the deep breathing. If you're standing there in line and you feel that worry coming up, breathe in for 3 or 4, hold it. Breathe out for 3 or 4, hold it. Then breathe it in. It's the yoga breath. It's the Lamaze breath. It's all these breaths because they work. It relaxes your body and it gets your mind off the worry because you're concentrating on how long am I holding this? How long am I letting it go? And then you're not thinking about the people around you or the things that are concerning you. You're focusing on the breath. Mm-hmm. Now, I know I said we were going to talk about codependency, and it's really not going to happen during this session, but it will for sure during the next session. But when people send in questions, we just really want to get to them. I think it's important that we do that. We are so grateful that you're listening. We are so grateful for the feedback that we do get. And by the way, we do need you to subscribe. So
it's free, and we need 1,000 subscribers by January of 2020. So we're depending and relying on you for that.
Okay, well, we'll see you next time, and we will be talking about codependency.
Thanks. Bye.